What's up?
Hey, we're alive.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I am Julie Murphy, and I am the author of Awaken Your Wealth. And I have said this since the get go that money is the solution or the result, I should say, of everything else going on in your life.
Mm,
Because what we need to learn to embody and to embrace is actually getting what a state of living is what I call real wealth.
mm.
And so I started this awakening series. And for those of you, I just want to say this right up front because I always say it at the end, and I'm like, people may not make it to the end, that
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
going to be giving away a free copy of my book. So if you just go
Woo!
to my website, juliemurphy.com, and just get on my mailing list, then that's going to come out in the next couple weeks. So get there so you know when I'm going to be doing that offering. And here tonight, we are doing Awaken Your Health.
Mm-hmm.
And Nam, tell them all about yourself.
And I am 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, the spiritual bodybuilder, and I'm here to talk about the health aspect of the wealth and health, right? Because you either act things out in your health or in your wealth. So
We do.
Julie and I are collaborating and bringing this together like what? Because right now, especially, man, all this crazy shit going on in the world right now is very internal. I'm sure you guys are feeling it. It's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now.
Well, and this is where, we were talking about how it's not only your physical health or your financial health,
Right.
it's also your relationship health. And certainly I do Awaken Your Relationships on Thursdays, but what we don't understand is how interwoven and intertwined all these aspects are because there's just one of you. And as we're going through this massive change that is just going to keep coming, the fire hose is going to keep coming.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to understand that we're not going to be able to live our lives the way that we used to, even though so many people are thinking, oh, the economy's starting to open back up. Oh, things are starting to unpack. Guess what? It's not going to go back to the way that it was.
No,
There's
most definitely
too
not.
much that's been exposed.
Right.
And so Nam and I are both witnessing clientele of ours that are really in these places of when it's like relationship health that is it really love or is it attachment based on all of your limiting belief systems from your own upbringing and your own childhood? And we have to understand that that is so interwoven and it affects your money. So like I have people who are like, well, I'm just going to keep working and providing for my family, blah, blah. I'm like going, but do you understand 50% of your money is going to go right out the door when you get divorced? And they go, oh, so your financial health goes in the toilet.
Right.
Right. And then what also happens? The physical health.
Yeah.
Like if you keep staying in a relationship that doesn't serve you and it's based on all the false stuff of all your codependence and not, you should be interdependent, not codependent.
Yeah.
And
Seeing a lot of the codependency just blowing up in people's faces right now. It's getting really, really sad out there.
Well, and literally you physically slowly but surely kill each other. And I know that's extreme, but when you stay in these codependent relationships and you don't actually tune into your heart and tune into what's true for you, your physical health truly, truly suffers.
Oh, big time.
Can you talk to people about that, what you witness?
Absolutely. And I've gone through this myself. And that's why, I mean, I will put a disclaimer out there. Okay. Like, so no, I am not in a healthy, happy, abundant relationship as of right now, because I'm still working on my own shenanigans, So
we're all working on our shenanigans.
we are. And I will be the first to admit that I have not made it to that point where I have a few friends that have that relationship. Those friends of that relationship you have, it's like, man, they're like, I wish I had that. They're just like, they get each other, they help each other out. Right. They know they're like the two sides of the same coin, right?
Well, they're their own person within themselves, and then they happen to have a relationship.
Yes, exactly. And I know like a few people like that, and like I really appreciate, like I learn a lot from those people because they really like intuitively they know themselves in a way, and that they're able to they're able to bend and twist in the energy in the interactions with the other person, so that they can work through things and not let things blow up out of proportion and not have these massive breakdowns so
Well, they have the massive breakdowns because of the fact that for a long period of time, you have not done what is true with your heart. Like maybe you didn't have the courage to find the words, or maybe it's just what you were taught and that was normal. And that's what, like I know from my perspective, like a lot of women just, they were always taught to be the good arm candy, and they were taught to just, okay, let the masculine lead and I will follow.
Right.
And I will tell you, those are the people who are not the happiest in relationships, because someone's given up a part of themselves. So now we have women who are starting to own who they are, but in relationships, so many. I know a lot of females who are super successful, just like myself, that then wind up in relationships where they're completely submissive because they've not been true to their heart,
right,
and spoke that because they were just grateful that somebody's in a relationship with them while they're being independent in other aspects of their world.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on in the world right now.
Well, and our generation is the first generation to try to find this balance here and not create. I mean, how many couples do you know that they get to retirement? So think of people our parents' age, and literally, like, the joke is always, oh my God, she's just nagging at me. And he's like, and she's sitting there going, I wish he would just like do something, like, it's God. Like that whole Archie Bunker thing.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Get out of here.
People who are 25, 30 years older than us, like that's the dynamic. And they're literally physiologically killing each other one day at a time because they're not happy.
Right. And what's interesting is that our generation, the Pluto and Libra generation, from an astrological perspective, that we are the ones that are meant to shift the way that human beings, adults, have relationships. Okay, so this is all happening like by design, but it's really just in our freaking face right now. It's like big time with all the other layers of stuff going on, because relationships, like in our society, like it's the most important thing. Like we're interdependent on everyone, on lots of people in the world. Like there is, like, if you are codependent in a relationship or even within the system, that is a very big problem, and the system is collapsing right now. So that's why the deeper layers of all this stuff is coming up, because it's calling out all these things that you're dysfunctioning, relying on, and especially the way that affects your health when you're not acknowledging your heart. Literally, like, you're shutting down like the biochemical reactions in your body. You ever see like a lot of guys these days, they're like the ones that have just decided that they're going to be married and have kids and do this like the societally correct thing, that they look like 20 years older than they really are. They're going, they're tired. They probably had no sex drive. They just given up on life in a way. They've sacrificed a part of themselves for this greater purpose of whatever that purpose is.
In my first book, Emotion Behind Money, I started to realize that 50% of my male clients between 55 and 65 years old developed cancer around their hip area. And I was like, that's pretty high. Colon cancer, prostate cancer, it was all around the hip area.
Right.
And so I started sitting there going, and at the time I was working a lot with Deepak Chopra, and Deepak said that a cancer cell develops because that cell has lost its sense of purpose. And it exactly supports the point that you just made, that men just decided they were going to be those providers and those income earners, and they were just going to be married. But here's the thing. They forgot to feed their own heart and soul along the way. And that's every single client that wound up with cancer between 55 and 65, they all lost their jobs, not by their choice, every one of them, because that was the only thing that they were doing in their life that somewhat kind of aligned and gave them a sense of purpose.
Right.
And then they were dropped like a hot potato, and it was like, like their whole physiological system just went, whoa. And then they had to rebuild, because remember, if we choose not to shift,
Right.
we choose to call in a crisis.
Yeah.
Because it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds until, what'd you say earlier? To the crack the egg? Crack the egg wide open.
And then suddenly you feel these feelings that you know are in there, and you like emotionally, physically, you'll start getting these aches and pains. Ooh, as it's moving through your body, and mentally and spiritually, as it's opening up, and it's like cracking open all these toxins that you've been suppressing inside your body. And look, I'm seeing it everywhere right now. It's nuts. It's like a massive amount of just.
Well, and we have to remember that pain in the body is unprocessed emotions.
Right, exactly. So when that pain comes up, what do people do? They freak the fuck out.
Right.
Now, freaking out is not going to help anything. It's a part of the process, right? So you really got to take a step back and be honest with yourself. All right, why is this happening? What is going on, right? So yes, you're going to go down a little bit of maybe a rabbit hole, right?
Right.
But it has to go down this way because you've been neglecting it for so long. Like
right, and it needs to heal. Like I had somebody say to me earlier today, they're like, I just don't understand why it's taken so long. I'm like, well, it took a hell of a lot of time to get you to where it is that you're at today.
Right.
So it's not going to happen overnight that it shifts. You know, it's just not.
Right. So if you're out there and you're like, oh man, a crisis, I can't handle another crisis. Oh my God, this sucks. No, why? Look, when we say the word crisis, all right, and you're already in that place of like borderline overwhelmed, because a lot of people are in that place right now. Okay.
Go inside.
We have to remember, like, look, just let it, a crisis can almost be like, it's a catharsis. It's a letting go of this shit that has been holding you back. So don't look at it as a bad thing. Because the word crisis, when people hear the word crisis, like, fuck, not again. And then mentally, they'll usually go right back into that block space. Like, no, leave me alone. Wake me up when it's gone. And it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You're just gonna just surrender to it and just let it go through you. It's gonna change you. And look, change is happening anyways, inevitably. Look at the world that we're living in right now. Change is everywhere on every level. Like you have to go into it.
Well, and it's interesting that you're saying that, because I just was teaching this to my daughter Bridget the other day, because she is forever a person who is pushed. So like when she's not processing her own emotions and feeling her own emotions, she projects. And actually, it's not just she, every human being, when you're in your conditioning or your patterns from your childhood, things come in, and when you don't know how to process or feel them, we project our stuff out on other people.
Yeah.
And like that is just proven psychologically, that's what human beings do. And so I was coaching my daughter the other day, and I said to her, I go, Bridge, stop going after your brother. This isn't about him. This is about you. And then she started projecting and attacking me. And I go, yeah, again, I'm not going to take your projection. So why don't you sit with what's actually really bothering you right now? Yeah. It wasn't even 5 minutes later in the car, she's like, Mom, I feel like I'm going to throw up. And I'm like, good, throw up, get it out of your system. Hey, she's like, what? I go, for once, you're finally feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
Instead of blaming everybody else in your life for why your life's shitty right now.
That's amazing.
And feel it. Literally, she had worked herself in such a frenzy at school that I get a call from the nurse going, we think your daughter has COVID, so she's not allowed, or all of her siblings, the next day in school, because she's got, after taking her temperature for 3 hours straight and isolating her at school, and then calling me as her mom, they came to school, and her test was negative. But this was case in point. Like
3 hours straight of testing her.
Oh my God, they put her in a room with glass. She didn't have a temperature all day long, but because they put her in a situation that her anxiety went up.
Right.
And they never called me to ask me like, Mom, do you know something that might be going on? And I would have known exactly what was going on with her.
Wow.
And then this is what we're doing at large in society.
It's
right?
terrible. Absolutely
We're
terrible.
like amplifying the fear and we're amplifying it. And then it's like, oh, and by the way, the economy's falling, and we had a presidential election that's all over the map.
Throw everything all on top of this.
Right. And it's like
cow dung.
It's like, and really, if everybody just chose to go inside, feel your feelings,
yeah,
and stop projecting your stuff all over everybody else on social media, like if you are triggered, something needs to shift within you. It's not 100%. Everybody else.
Man.
And again, you will build up. If you keep projecting to everybody else, you will eventually call a health crisis into your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm
care
praying,
if it's cancer or whatever.
I'm praying that, that most of you out there are not at that point. However, if you are, like this is a clear sign, like there's sirens going off. Hey, time to pay attention. Look at this. Let's do some work. Let's change things. Let's make something happen.
Right.
Like it's when we take responsibility, we realize, hey, like everything that we brought into our life is what we have brought into our life. We manifested it. So if it ain't going the way you want, you got to look at it. And that's where the dissemination between attachment and love comes into play. Right?
More about that.
Because a lot of times, like we meet someone like, ooh, how you doing? Right? and then we get entranced into this, like, when you meet someone, you're just like, wow, how are you doing? I mean, at least I've been there. And then like, and then like, you guys start spending some time together, and then like, however long it takes, and you have sex, and sex is just mind-boggling. You're like, oh my God, I'm in love, right? And now you decide to move in together 3 months later. Now you're living together. Now things start to get exponentially more complicated, because up until that point, you're both sort of showing the highlight reel of you to each other. So now, like, you might fart in your sleep. Sometimes you got to take a smelly shit. Sometimes you're gonna oversleep. Sometimes you got to do things the other person doesn't like. Right? Maybe you don't wash the dishes like how your partner likes them being washed, and all of these little things start to become like monumental issues. And then you start to get triggered from nowhere. And now every day you're waking up and you're like, what the fuck is going on in my life? I don't know how I got here. Well,
it's all the attachments.
You went down that tunnel of attachment through the veil of what you thought was love. Now granted, maybe there is love in there. Okay. However, whatever is going on in your experience that is creating an imbalance is not love.
Right.
And whenever we run into a situation like that, which I think everybody in existence has been there somewhere, some way, somehow, some point in time, right?
So true.
Like we have to, instead of projecting it, we have to look at ourselves, especially right now. Right now, so many people are just like, oh my God, I thought she was my soulmate, and now she's just getting all triggered, and it's blah, blah, blah. Like I have people coming at me from all these directions. Like, okay, guys, listen to yourself. Take a step back. You have to observe. Like, especially if you're doing, a lot of people that are doing the work too are getting triggered like this. Wait a minute, she was my twin flame. It's supposed to go like this. It was supposed to be like this. I believed it was going to be like this. Well, maybe you got to look at that belief system. Why are you labeling it as a fucking twin flame or a soulmate? Maybe stop putting it in a fucking box.
That's exactly it.
Right?
And there's so much of the world going on right now that we have to take out of the box.
Yeah.
Because this preconceived notion of how everything is and was and ever will be is not necessarily what you actually believe. Like the one thing I've noticed in this whole transition post-divorce, so my whole awakening happened way before the masses, and I'm sort of grateful for that. Yeah. And but it's been interesting. Like I didn't know what I didn't know.
Of course.
And what I perceived to be reality that I like fought to the dickens to defend was just me and my conditioning, and me and my attachments, and me and my codependence.
Yeah.
And I'm refusing to ever operate in the world like that ever again, because now I'm conscious to it.
Amen. Amen, sister. Right there
Right.
with you.
And it's because I don't want, Deepak Chopra said years ago, he said, why is it that 50, 60 years ago, people lived a vibrant life and then they died in their sleep?
Right?
We heard that all the time when we were children.
Yeah.
But now everybody dies for like 15 years and then they finally kick the bucket. It's
right?
like, why are we creating 15 years of suffering, of declining health, instead of just dying in my sleep? Like, I can't even tell you the last time I heard somebody dying in their sleep.
Right?
But why can't you just thrive all the way up into today? Your soul's like, yeah, I'm checking off the earth. I'm out.
No kidding.
And I think it's because we're in all this patterning. And we're doing something different now. And I truly believe it's the fact that we're not living from our heart and soul. Like, life took off with the information age, and it just it started moving super fast. And then we thought something outside of ourselves was a better answer. I just recently reread The Alchemist.
Ooh, that's a great book.
And you know what? It was great picking it up again to read it. Because it reminded me, go back to your heart, go back to, it's just.
That's what we're having to retrain in so many different ways, because we've been conditioned to not think like that. And we're having to retrain ourselves. Wait a minute, something doesn't feel right. And if it doesn't feel right, there's a freaking reason, right?
Exactly. Right. And we need to start to choose our own health and wellness.
Yes.
By choosing that. That's what we don't realize, is that it's hard to think that it's not you that's creating it all. But we are creating everything. We are the one that's in the driver's seat of our lives.
Right.
And if you find yourself screaming at people about politics, or if you find yourself snapping off at somebody spending too much money in your household, you're snapping. So it's about you.
Right. Yeah.
What do you need to heal inside you?
Yeah. And of course, right now, politics is a huge fucking trigger for everybody.
I just helped somebody recently realize she hates the job that she's in. She's known it for years, but she just wanted to get it to her age 50 so that she had enough money, because she was being paid a buttload, and then she could undo it. And I go, but she is angry at the world, angry, and she's very democratic, and she's like, oh my God, she physically gets ill from Trump and everything. And I'm going, maybe you need to quit your job and go work for the Democratic Party. Yeah. And she then had this shit ass grin on her face. And I was like she just won the lottery. I'm like, it certainly isn't something that I would do. But
right?
She was happy as the day is long. And I'm going, your heart and your soul is calling you there.
There we go.
So go. But we don't make these shifts in our lives because many times we're financially pigeonholed and we don't know how to get to the other side.
Right.
And
yeah.
if we don't, I'm telling you.
So when you're in that, because I've been there too. When you are pigeonholed in that type of situation, you just make the decision and go into it, and it'll all just fall in your lap when the time is right.
I always tell everybody that walk across a bridge, create a bridge for yourself, because a lot of times if you jump off the ledge, you might give yourself a heart attack in the process. Right? If you completely jump off the ledge and say, hey, yeah, I'm just going to completely change. Some people do that. I would say the majority of people, though, kind of need to slowly hand them the rope, so create a game plan and a bridge so that you have a foot in living in the present moment, but also then planting the seeds to create the future that you want for tomorrow. And usually that's more digestible to people, and it's a path of more ease and grace. Okay. So I had her just start talking to who would you call in the Democratic Party to get a job? And then she found out she's making healthy six figures, and she's like, Jewel, that would be a 200% pay decrease. And I go, but does it matter? And she was like, it's a lot less money. I go, who cares? You have a lot of money.
Right.
And so then we ran scenarios to just kind of see can we like take this and quit your job, have this income for this period of time? Like, this is where, like you were talking about earlier, look at life outside of the box.
Yeah.
Like, why does your income have to go like this your whole life?
Right.
Why does it have to do that? Why does your health have to go like this the rest of your life? It doesn't have to.
Right.
Right? Like, our bodies are amazing vehicles.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
The healing properties, and it still blows my mind with all the COVID stuff, how little we're talking about how to build your immune system.
Yeah, right?
Like that, I don't see that anywhere being talked about. Wear your mask. How about, did you know that vitamin D is a really good immune booster? And maybe you should be doubling up on what your intake of vitamin D is. And what are the foods that do that? And what are the best supplements out there? Like, I'm sitting here going, duh. But nobody's talking about that. Like, these are things in our health that will improve our health. And probably most people were undernourished anyway, because we eat like shit in this country anyway, as a whole, right? Like, then we'd all improve. It'd be a positive side effect of COVID. Who knew?
Yeah, no kidding. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, but this is where we gotta go outside of the box.
Right. We have to basically like destroy that box and create a new one. Because I don't know. I'm going to retract that statement, because I mean, getting outside of the box, but then creating a new one might just put you in a different prison. But I think we need to just like learn how to be able to be malleable and going in and out of.
You know, it's so funny that you say that. I just bought a ring to remind me to stay in the flow. And it's a ring that actually has ocean waves. It's like, that's what the ring is all the way around. Kind of like how a wedding band has diamonds all around. Well, this one has waves.
Okay.
And it's just a reminder to me to stay in the flow. Like, don't pigeonhole myself. Like, if I'm drawn somewhere, go, even if it doesn't fit in what my current agenda is. Right. I want to remind myself to be in the flow and to kind of be where life takes me.
Exactly. And usually, like,
I didn't know you were a good dancer.
Right? Yeah. You ever notice that when you actually do, just like the best times in your life are usually the times that are not planned out.
How
you
true
go somewhere, you do something, and you're just in the moment. You're like, wow, this is fucking amazing.
And time flies.
Yeah.
Like, why are we afraid to keep doing that?
That's because all this fear-based shit is coming up, and there's just these dark forces that are trying to keep us trapped, and we all do get stuck somewhere, somehow, in some way, shape, or form. But that's exactly why you and I are doing what we're doing now, so that we can bring it out, bring it to the surface, and clear out the throat chakra, and and bring it out into realization, so that we can help people see what the hell's going on, and what are our options. What do we do? How do we think different? How do we see it different? How do we feel it different?
I couldn't agree with you more. And this is why, you and I do the work that we do in the world. Yeah. To help people through these times where sometimes, people would say to me, Julie, why do you have all these coaches? Julie, why have you done all this? Because you know what? When you're stuck in your attachments and you're stuck in things that you think are like love and healthy and, financially abundant, and then they turn out to not be exactly how you had envisioned them to be, well, guess what? Sometimes you need a coach. Sometimes you need someone to be by your side. Yeah, tell people about your resource of your book, because I think that's important for people to know.
Yeah, absolutely. My book, you can download it for free on my website, spiritualbodybuilder.com, and it's about decrypting the language of the human body. So, there was a book written back in the 80s called "The Body is a Subconscious Mind," and it's similar, but my book goes into more specifics and in more depth. In that, our body is a manifestation of of our environment, right? And our emotional environment, our physical environment, our energetic, the people around us, everything. So when our body is feeling, acting, behaving a certain way, it is a language, it is speaking to us. And when we can break it down and understand what it is saying, then we know how to navigate the decisions and choices that we make in life. because that is essentially what is guiding us. The problem is when we get stuck in these freaking patterns and this conditioning that we're in, we tend to not really make the best decisions.
Right.
Right. So, and look, we all do it.
How do people like hire you to help decrypt their body? Like how do they get a hold of you to do that? Because for me, I want to bring resources like you to the table so that people know that there's individuals out there that can help them on this journey.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get outside of our box, not kill ourselves in the process.
Right. Absolutely. So I work with people long distance via Zoom. You can go to my website, spiritualbodybuilder.com. I do astrology readings, which is, sort of like the foundation of my coaching anyways, because I can just tell you all about your consciousness and help you understand who you are better. I'm sure Julie can confirm that.
No doubt. Yeah. It's very telling. It's very like, oh my God, you can read that from my astrology. Like, oh, that's a little unnerving that you can read it that easily. Right? Yeah. But yet super helpful along the way.
Yeah.
It kind of shines the light on the stuff you already know, but it just kind of solidifies going, yep, this is why. Yeah. And here's how you do it.
I think a lot of people in the back of their mind, they have us knowing they know what they need to do, but they don't know how to bring it all together to like actually put it into action. So connecting those dots is really important. Sometimes it's just a lot of validation, connecting the dots, and here you go. Here's a navigation guide to be able to go do what you need to do. Now, if you're in Las Vegas, I can work with you one-on-one and we can do a lot more together. Because I work with fitness.
I'm in Chicago, but you've even led me to, okay, Joel, you got to find a place like this to do your hormone testing and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know what you're looking for. I didn't know what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And to your credit and my follow through, I have so many people telling me like, oh my God, you look really young. And I'm going, why, thanks.
Hell yeah.
But it's because I'm getting in alignment with my heart and soul while I'm doing the things from a health perspective that as my body's been telling me the language it wants to speak to me, that I'm listening to get it to the other side.
Hell yeah.
So we are going to be here every Monday at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific to help you guys. We're going to spend 30 minutes every week now to just bring some extra value. And then if you need any help from Spiritual Bodybuilder or myself, you can go to juliemurphy.com and we're here to help you guys on your journey. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. Thank you.